Viewer contributions make local programming possible on WNIN. Become a member of WNIN with your contribution so we can continue to make this programming available. Visit WNIN.org and click on the donate button.
Well, Patrick, we don't have a guest this week. They're telling me they want us to do banter, discuss the current events of the day.
I always feel that I have a guest when I'm in your presence, Your Honor. This will be a great show. You know, but first,
yes,
let me begin our comments with this. I'm shaving this morning, looking in the mirror at one of my favorite people. And I hear a guy come on and National Public Radio to say he's doing a story about these potential budget cuts. And his name was something like Pitchfork or Forklift or whatever, but he was an NPR national guy. And all of a sudden he's interviewing Tim Black. The next thing I hear is our voices on national radio about how important NPR is to the community, and they chose Evansville.
How did I miss that?
Well, I don't know, but I think we have a new aura. I think this could create for me and you like groupies, Playboy bunnies, that sort of thing.
In the twilight of our years,
Of course, they said it was Evansville, Indiana, which means the entire world will think, well, those guys are probably in bib overalls, corncob type pipes, you know, that whole thing. So maybe it won't get us groupies, but on a serious note.
Yes, sir.
And we'll talk about both of these budgets, but our state and our federal government are threatening to cut off National Public Radio and public stations like this, and it's a tragedy and it's a crime.
Well, here's the thing that really bothers me. The clawback. 2 years of funding they want to claw back. That's just devastating. That's punitive. That's not necessarily taking a position and legislating according to it. That's a punitive measure.
It is, and you and I are both. Hell, I was 1985. You were about, what, 86 or 7?
87.
87, Channel 9 chairman. So we didn't come to this lately, kids. We came to this 40 years ago. And the fact is, this station is a gem. And if the Tri-State doesn't step up, if we don't talk to Congressman Messier, who rubber stamped whatever, Jim, take it to the bank, Todd, wish he was young. If these people, along with Mike, our governor, all brawn, no brains, or no brains, all brawn, these people, because this station, National Public Radio, doesn't always sing from the hymnal like Fox News, they're taking out areas of dissent.
Here's the truth of the matter. Several years ago, maybe 10 years ago, I would have agreed. There was more of a very liberal slant to NPR, for example. But they got the message, and they worked very hard to recast their newscasts. Excuse that alliteration, but they did. And quite frankly, it's the only place where I can get uninterrupted factual basis of the news of the day.
And they love to say that it's all brainwashing and ideologically driven on our side. But the fact is, now that label goes to anyone who disagrees with them. Right now, the orange creep is in this big problem trying to control the MAGA base after saying on the campaign trail he's going to release the Epstein files, after his attorney general says, I have the list on my desk. Well, guess what? Now, right now he's saying, can we move on? That's just not the way this is supposed to work.
Here's the sad thing about that is he's going to get a pass. That's not going to lose one supporter. You hear some people talking that they're going to abandon Trump. Not this one issue, but still, it shows a lack of credibility. Moreover, I'm not really sure what those files would show, but when the Attorney General says, I got the list on my desk, and there happens to be no list, her report says no list. So she basically has told a little fibber there.
Or there was a list and his name is on it. I mean, it gives here's a guy who made his name on conspiracy theories, starting with Barack Obama is not a U.S. citizen. All of you remember that? That's where the a-hole got a little national press. Every conspiracy theory he could come up with, Biden and everybody else. Well, now guess what? Well, the thinking's got to be he hasn't produced that list because his name is on it.
But the one thing I think he's out front on, and I applaud him for this, he wants to deport Rosie O'Donnell.
Rosie O'Donnell, who was right here in Evansville in the filming of A League of Their Own.
Very good memory.
Well, indeed.
Goes back more than 30 years.
I was still the school corp lawyer in those days, negotiating with Hollywood over the use of Bosse Field. Those were heady days for the Pocket City.
Let's go back to our interview last week with Lieutenant Governor.
Yes.
A couple of things I want to comment on. I took issue with him about the brainwashing by IU professors. Mm-hmm. He's the example where he said some professor in the media department could not speak about his faith in Jesus Christ. My Christian friends, don't take offense to this. Professors in the media school or any school are not there to preach the gospel. They're there to teach subject matter. I mean, this is so far off base.
Well, it is. And once again, when autocrats take over, one of the first things they do is try to take over the media. I got it. Defund public television. The next thing they do is go where there are pockets of dissent and begin to tighten the screws. What did the legislature do this year? They went to our great public universities. We are blessed in this state to have two Research One doctoral granting universities. One's in West Lafayette, whose name will not be said, and the other's in Bloomington, Indiana. With no help, as long as the legislature has left them alone and given them a percentage, less than 16% of their budget in Bloomington, we have had the ability for Hoosier students to go to great public universities. What are we doing? We're killing 220 majors at IU this year because the legislature thinks it needs to get involved in higher ed, in the curriculum, in the academic world.
And the governor believes that we need to change the makeup of the Board of Trustees, that alumni of this great institution are not capable of electing their leaders.
Well, it's your former party that whenever the Democratic Party, and we share our blame because we can't be the loyal opposition, we show up and or don't show up and there's still a quorum present. So until we get enough people elected and get a coherent message, this week Barack Obama said, we got to get tough. We got to kind of start telling people what this guy in the White House is all about.
Hey, let me ask you this. You're very entertaining. You always have a clever response.
Yes.
I want you to really put your thinking cap on. You've been a loyal Democrat all your life. Mm-hmm. Very active one.
Not a straight party ticket voter.
But
always voted for Richard Lugar, but all in all,
always supported
absolutely
the standard bearers
and
of the
a
party.
Contributor to that party. You're
very close to Evan Bayh, the two-term governor.
Yes. Frank O'Bannon put me on the Board of Trustees.
What's it, Pat? You talk to these people. What's it going to take to get a Evan Bayh, a Frank O'Bannon type candidate to capture the imagination of the people of this Hoosier state and get your party back in a competitive position?
Well, it's a great question, and today I read an article where a woman-driven fundraising group is about to sue another one for defamation.
I saw that.
That kind of thing is what we do not need. What we need to do is put our resources together, number one, and number two, there is this phenomenon in the United States of America where the Republican Party, if you see those maps where the United States is red, but there are these little pieces of blue, that's where people live. Boston, New York, Chicago, Philadelphia. Urban areas are full of people confronting real problems. Republicans carry the Great Plains and the mountain regions where nobody lives.
Don't entertain me, but give me some answers.
So the answer is we need to get one of our mayors. There is a Democrat who is a mayor in every urban population in the state. Joe Hogsett in Indianapolis, Stephanie Terry in Evansville, what's his name in Fort Wayne, and South Bend, where Pete Buttigieg came from.
Right.
We need to get one of our mayors who has solved real problems for real people. picked up the trash, plugged the potholes, and we need to start talking to Hoosiers about their pocketbook issues, about real government relief, not this latest. Do you know what the legislature just pulled? What they pulled was telling everybody it was property tax relief. You and I may get $10, but businesses in this great state will get the big benefits of all of that bill, and poor people will lose health care, lose food stamps, and lose Medicaid. That's the message we need to talk about.
We talked about Medicaid last week. I think a little wrong on that. Medicaid has some conditions, but not necessarily going to go away. But back on the property tax issue, there was nobody out there, no business out there that was crying for property tax reform. This was a program that the Governor Braun and the Lieutenant Governor promoted. And as I indicated last week, I talked to judges from communities all over the state. Not one of them were complaining about their property taxes.
And let's be clear, 5 million viewers, what we're talking about here. This bill was sold as property tax relief for all of the homeowners. What it really did was create a whole bunch of great tax breaks for businesses. You probably don't know this, I didn't. The threshold for business personal property taxes. You got a business, your business didn't used to have to pay personal property tax until you exceeded $800,000. Well, this bill raised that to $2 million. $2 million. All of the breaks in this bill were to businesses. Now what we'll hear out of my other ear will be, well, businesses will create jobs, and that's trickle down. The same thing just happened with the big ugly bill in Washington.
That's not trickle down. That's JFK, rising tide lifts all boats.
Your Honor, what we need to do is the Democrats have a coherent message and illustrate to the citizens of this state that all this Republican legislature did was shift the burden of funding state coffers and paying for critical local services to local governments.
Exactly.
The county council and the city council and the mayor and the commissioners now, to balance their books, are going to have a local income tax.
Your party will have to resist the temptation to pursue liberal issues, traditionally liberal issues like that are espoused by the candidate running for mayor of New York.
Well,
got to move away from that ideology.
I think the mood in America right now, Donald Trump's most hard-hitting, move-the-needle commercial in the last 2 weeks of that presidential campaign were about Kamala her answers on the transgender question. And, you know, it just doesn't pay out there across America to be empathetic, to be caring about love thy neighbor. What all of them say they practice, because they're all good evangelicals, they forget about the love thy neighbor. But when it comes to social issues, the Democrats, we got to. Carville told Bill Clinton, it's the economy, stupid. And that's where we got to be.
Well, a little interesting Supreme Court decision yesterday. Basically did away with the injunctions, preventing the orders that challenge the efforts to reduce the workforce of the Department of Education. One step along of many steps to basically shut that department down.
And sadly, Your Honor, and as a lawyer, we're supposed to be respectful of the courts, and I am respectful of the courts as an institution, but as the individuals here, they did it on the shadow docket. They went in recess. So what we did was remove an injunction, allow Trump to dismantle the Department of Education. By a 6-3, there were 3 in a strong dissent, by 6 majority votes who didn't say anything. They just said vacate the injunction, which means, remember, fellow 5 million, the Department of Education was created by Congress. One would think that if it's going to be taken away, it would have to be up to Congress.
And this is probably the only time I agree with Justice Sotomayor, but she said that's exactly correct. That's why she was one of the 3. Here's the thing, though. This decision by this high court didn't find that we could remove the Department of Education by executive order. It simply allowed him to use his power as an executive regarding staffing. Ultimately, that decision will be decided by the court. And I think the court will rule the majority that only Congress can eliminate that department.
And what we have here under the separation of powers, of course, is that the executive branch carries out the wishes of Congress. So Congress creates the Department of Education, but the hiring and firing is not done by Congress. It's done by the executive branch. So Don John, the orange monster, says, well, here's the way we're going to do that. We'll just eliminate all their employees. Well, you can have a Department of Ed. There ain't going to be anybody working there.
It's not done yet. The High Court still has yet to give a final ruling on the merits of that case. We'll see what the court does.
Here's the way I really think the Democratic Party will resurface. You will recall back in our former life when we were on television and everybody was celebrating John McCain's brave pick of Sarah Palin as his vice presidential candidate. I said on Channel 9, or we were on some channel, I think it was on our show, we used to do a little political... on
the Cartoon Channel, I think.
We did a little political commentary for others in town, but I looked in the camera and said, you know what, my guess is not only will they not win, she won't even be governor of Alaska 2 years from now. I got that one right.
Wait a second.
So here's what I'm going to tell you.
You can't write your own headlines.
Well, you kind of can.
I want some verification of that.
Because our guest is not disagreeing. Here's what I'm going to tell you. 2 years from right now, you won't be able to find anybody who said they voted for Donald Trump. Everybody will say, oh, well, it's not my fault. Because with these tariffs and with this bill and with taking 11 million people's health care away and with hospitals closing in rural Indiana, people are going to say, now, wait a minute. I didn't know that was going to happen. Well, I didn't vote for him. You won't find anybody who will admit they voted for the no-good SOB.
I don't believe it's going to be that drastic, but here's the thing. At the local level, state level, as I challenged the lieutenant governor last week, I would love to have the governor or the members of the House attend county council budget hearings here in Vanderbilt County and see how they turn out and see that the programs are being cut, necessary programs, and then see if they can still be in good conscience.
It's a terrible shell game. They're going to go home and run for re-election to the legislature and say, I cut property taxes. They're going to say, well, yeah, but my local income taxes were raised. Say, I didn't do that. Your county council did that. That's the game they're playing. Well, you know that.
I think we got some pretty sharp elected officials at the local level that can articulate what's really going on.
Well, I hope that, for instance, the president of our city council, Ben Trockman, was in the paper today saying, please protect our block grants. Look what we've done for housing in this little city right here, one of all thousands of cities in America. Government has a role, Your Honor.
They sure do. And I appreciate those that are concerned about fraud and waste. But let's recognize that public safety and housing and education are primary goals of local and state government, and we should not reduce those resources necessary for those programs.
And we ought to frame the question about what is fraud and waste by saying in the one big, beautiful, ugly, stupid bill, there's $46 billion to build the wall. You remember, of course, he got elected the first time saying we're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. Well, didn't really mean that. $46 billion in this bill for that. And there's about an equal amount to puff up ICE and the other one. What's the other one? There's two different initial groups. But the immigration enforcement, because we want this country to be meaner and we need to start sweeping up. By the way, did you see a month ago, we got a man out of this country who was here unlawfully. Now, he had 3 sons who served in the Marine Corps. 3 sons who served the country. But we got him out of this country because Dad didn't have his papers. Is that what we want to be?
Well, we'll see as we approach 2026, the midterm elections. What impact will all this have on the midterms?
Well, You know, I think Hoosiers are going to start feeling it right off the gate. We had a burgeoning solar, Mitch, the windmills, drive north.
Right.
We had a burgeoning green economy, jobs. Well, as our 5 million viewers know, any tax bill is full of social policy. It rewards things and it penalizes things. What did the monster do? All of Joe Biden's green initiatives were stripped out, repealed, and taken away. Indiana, the deduction you got for buying an electric vehicle, for putting an electric vehicle charger in your garage, you got a deduction for that until this bill passed. Took away the Tesla incentive. Well, Tesla, there were other electric cars. We all want to take the Tesla away. And other green initiatives are no longer, you can't expense them, can't depreciate. That's a policy decision. I don't know.
I agree.
Elections have consequences.
They do, and we'll see again how pleased America is with the results we come to 2026.
If we can make it to a year from November, but we got to go through all the way till another year's November to get at least one of these parties that can act as a check on the insanity that's coming out of Washington.
Let's move to another subject.
Okay.
Both of us are proud IU grads. And Lieutenant Governor, yes, we are proud IU grads, proud of IU. But IU and other universities have now are caught up in a conundrum of athletic programs and the fund paying student athletes. I mean, can't call them student athletes anymore. They're professionals. It's going to bankrupt a lot of colleges. How do we deal with that? Who should put the brakes on this phenomenon?
You know, I have such terrible, terrible mixed emotions about all of that. You and I had to carry beer in our coats to go to a football game in Bloomington in the 1970s. Now we sell it right there in the football stadium. The fact is, big-time college basketball and big-time college football are nothing less than the minor leagues for the NFL and the NBA. The players finally woke up to say, we don't have a $1 billion contract with CBS to cover the March Madness because of who the school is or who the coach is. It's because of the players. So if there's going to be all this revenue enriching these campuses who are in arms races to build bigger stadiums, we ought to share. And, you know, the pro-union, the pro-middle class, where we both came from, in me says, yeah, you know, we need to let that, we need to let those that are creating the money share in the profit.
And the High Court has already ruled on that.
Yes, and it took a long time. But now the problem is, and I talked to President P about this, a good guest on our constitutional law expert. I mean, how does, when you and I grew up, Evansville College, Division II, 5 national championships, Jerry Sloan, Larry Hume, Sam Watkins, I mean, Buster Briley, great days when they were student athletes, wore short pants and went to sociology at 10:30 on Tuesday. Those days are gone. I say, well, how do you're not going to raise $22 million a year in NIL money? He said, oh, absolutely not. Well, I mean, but they went Division I. USI is not going to raise $22 million a year. IU will.
Yeah.
Ohio State will have that plus another 10 years put away. So it has created a class system. We don't have Division I, Division II. We have Division I, and we have mid-majors.
And we used to have all these various conferences. Now we have the Big 14. That basically runs from the West Coast to the East Coast.
Big Ten and the SEC right now will absolutely control media. You saw the realignment out there, Texas jumping over here, Oklahoma, they all better get on board. And the Big Ten was a leader in that.
They were the leader.
We created a network, Big Ten Network, and people said, really? Who's going to do that?
Guess who put together the Big Ten Network? You sitting down?
I am.
Fox. Fox was the driving force behind that.
Well,
your old buddies at Fox.
You know, a fraternity brother of mine, Joe Buck, was one of their broadcasters. So he was a good old Sigma Nu at IU. But Fox gets it right every now and then, not very often. But college sports is different. It is semi-pro now. Kids don't go there and you know the problem I got with it? Here's the problem I got with it. I have watched religiously Indiana basketball for 50 years, easily 50 years. And back in the days when I would be in Florida, I would drive inland 60 miles to some bar who would have a hookup where the game would be on, or go out in my car and listen to the radio. This year, I went to bed at halftime on a lot of games. You don't get to know a kid. You don't grow up with him recruited out of high school, and now we've seen him as a freshman get in, and now he's developing, and oh, sophomore, he got to play a lot more. Can't wait till he's a junior. Those days are gone. I mean, go Omar Ballo. You know, it just didn't feel.
You know, but here's what the court looked at, and what the system created was the fact: how can you have a coach making several $1 million a year, recruit these kids, and then leave and go someplace else when the kid can't? So,
right. I mean, which is another rule. They don't have to sit out a year now. Right. They can, and I'm told you got to pay $1 million for a second string guard anymore. It's gotten crazy. It'll come back, I think.
Pat, you know the name of this kid? This kid, I think, is from Memorial.
Was just drafted in baseball?
Yeah. He's making decisions whether to go to IU. He's got a full ride at IU. Or who drafted him?
Phillies, I want to say,
yeah.
Maybe.
So what does he do?
Yeah, it is a dilemma. It kind of shows what the values are in our country. We've always needed sports, the ancient games, Olympic games, and right now it's kind of where America goes for relaxation and something to cheer about.
The time we have left.
Man, the time flew by.
We're going to be doing a Pat and Les show at least once a month. So please send your questions in, and we'll take up topics that you want.
Or volunteer to be a guest.
Right. And our guest next time around in August will be the prosecutor of Vanderbilt County.
Is that right?
Yes.
Diana Mears comes back to see us.
Yes.
That's good. And we need to get the new school superintendent on.
Yeah.
Here. We thank you, all 5 million of you, for watching Shively Shoulders.